Good afternoon, everyone. It's 4 o'clock, June 3rd, 2021. We're here for LCEA Lake County Schools Bargaining. We'll start with roll call for the district. Chad Farnsworth.
Guido Zamora.
Jake Stein.
Jamie Sidoric.
Linda Shepherd Miller.
Lou Allen.
Chad Frazier.
Okay, I think that's it for us.
Is that it?
Yep.
All right, Kathy Smith.
Tony
LCA.
Beckett.
Henry Gordon. Kirsten Olofsson.
Tessa Clark. Elizabeth Emery.
I think that's everybody except Terry, and I don't know whether Terry can speak from her phone. So
I see her.
Terry Stevens is also here.
And I'm Angela Dawson. I'm here with Elizabeth and Kathy in the LCEA office. I work at the Florida Education Association.
Hey, before we get started, just want to say welcome to everyone. And Kathy, it appears you're taking over for bargaining. So congratulations in this venue. And do you have some introductions also of new folks?
No, we have not changed anybody yet. We are going to be doing some interest surveys and see who would like to be continuing on and who wants to be on bargaining, and we'll go from there. But for right now, we're kind of in an interim here. So.
Okay. All right. Well, it's good to get everybody back together and make some attempts to get things onto a normal pace and a normal schedule. We've got a few discussions today, some that are a little easier than others and some that are a little more complex. I would like to start by we've got our summer programs that are cranking up, and annually we have a MOU that's required that establishes dates and times for our summer programs. So I'm going to share my screen if that's okay.
Okay.
Give me just a second. I'm stretching my screen back out here so I can see everybody. Okay, nothing too complex, pretty simple. What we do annually prior to our summer programs as required by contract. We have our general summer school program with the dates and times, and you'll see it lays out. We had where the timing was a little wonky for last year when we had the last minute required summer programs. These have been adjusted back to more of what we're accustomed to, and things of note in this first section are you've got the planning at the beginning, and then an established break, and then at the end the lunch and planning are combined there at the end to give the lunch. Last time it was a little weird because we were not accustomed to doing lunch at summer school because it was like this schedule, but because it ran a longer period of time with the different summer school, it looked a little different last year. Then we have our exceptional child summer school and ESY. You know, we have the elementary levels that are going on, and then we also have our Lake Hills program, and those differ slightly. Obviously, those go for a longer period of time throughout the day, and you'll see you've got the similar things set up for your student day, your lunch, which is duty free, and teacher planning from 1 to 1:30. Then at the bottom, you'll see for Lake Hills, the dates, because their dates are a little bit different on how they run. And then the reason compensation is under the ESY is because that's not established in the section of the contract as the daily rate for them. But for the regular summer school, that's on top. That's in their section in the contract is listed at the daily rate. So that's why it's down here and not up top. So that's just taking care of, you know, some of the wonkiness in our contract. Maybe we can address that when we get to full blow. So any questions on this? I can send it over to you, Kathy, and you guys can review it, and we'll get it taken care of.
I do have one question. Aren't summer school, aren't they getting a planning day on June 8th?
Planning day on June 8th. Oh, I'm gonna have to check on that. Let me double check on that with Ms. Cockcroft and see.
Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of third grade summer reading camp. So
Yeah,
that
that's
probably is not that top one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that is different. Okay, well, I'll send that over, and you guys can scrutinize it a little more. I've had the folks that run the program take a look at it, and I think we got most of it, so I don't see any problems with it.
All right, thank you.
All right. Well, the next section I'd like to talk about is where, you know, things get a little bit more complicated. So guys, bear with us, because as we start looking at how do we get back on track, and then some new wrinkles that have come into play, I do have a proposal today that puts things on a bit of a tight timeline, and I'll explain the reasoning behind that. And you know, this will be something that you guys can gauge your comfort with, because it does put an additional, it's put some additional timeline stressors on you guys and some perception issues that come along with it that I acknowledge. But it's something that if it's something you feel like is feasible, we'd be willing to throw district resources to help you guys pull it off. So let me, I'll pull up just some information and proposal, and I'll kind of explain. So, you know, as legislative session closed and we saw, you know, last couple of weeks, some new laws and provisions come out, we were a little bit startled from a district standpoint, because we see that they're doubling down and getting right back to their ways of controlling the money and how we're able to provide compensation increases to teachers, especially those with the most experience at the top. So we, as soon as we saw that, we pulled together an executive session because we wanted to express our concerns to the board. And, you know, we were in those formative stages of the budget as we're going through and building our budget, and wanted to get with Mr. Ward, and I wanted to get with the board and say, okay, we need to understand the impacts that are getting ready to come down on us. They're very similar to the tactics that have been put in play in the past. So basically, come July 1, there's some stipulations that say until we hit the minimum required salary for teachers of $47,500, and remember, we're at $44,750 right now. Any annual increase to that minimum cannot be less than 150% of the largest adjustment made to the grandfather salary schedule. So again, they're putting some difficulties on getting that those folks that are still on that grandfather schedule to get kind of as fair as possible increase. And then there's also some stipulations as far as highly effective pay adjustments must be 25% higher than any other pay adjustment. So where, you know, the interpretation, I think they felt like people were working around with different interpretations of that and going $1 less sometimes on different amounts when they were working performance pay. They're doing their best to close up some of those loopholes. So here's kind of the out of the box idea that we had. Basically, a little background on what happened with the teacher salary increase allocation, because you've got several moving parts that interfere a little bit. The 2021 teacher salary increase allocation agreement raised the minimum base teacher salary to $44,750, which you guys know. An addendum to the agreement ensured that all instructional employees receive at least 2% of the base to their base salaries. And so looking at the amount that's been allocated to us for the 21-22 TSIA funds, the new minimum, if we followed the same applicable theories that we did before with that smaller amount, would raise our base salary to $44,930. So that's just something to keep in mind. But so describing those numbers to you, our 21-22 district allocation, including our conversion charters, which are part of us, it was the 7.6 million. But what, that was the big mystery of whether they would roll that into the FEFP and like a base student allocation and how that money would come out, or would they do it a line item again? Well, they put it back in as a line, and so they only gave us 449,000 more than what they gave us in 2021. So we're able to maintain the increases that we made to the base salaries, but they only gave us a little more on top of that, with the same rules in play of how we could spend it, with the 80% of the allocation being at 359,000 and the 20% being at 89,000. And you can imagine, once you spread that 89% across the 20%, that doesn't do a whole lot to people's salaries, but that would pretty much go to your non-classroom teachers, getting them to that minimum like we did in our old methodology. So that's kind of in mind of what we have planned coming in for those funds that have been allocated to us for TSIA for the 21-22 school year. But if we can get an agreement and very quickly, perhaps we could get under the wire and be able to have more control and authority as a bargaining group over how we get some of the funds that we have available. Looking at our budget for next year, that we were going to be able to afford to provide increases to salaries, but go ahead and get that money on the table and try and beat the July 1st deadline when these rules kick in. So all instructional personnel who receive less than 4% to their base salary from the 2021 TSIA MOU agreement and the impending 21-22 TSIA MOU agreement would receive a non-retroactive increase that will increase their salary, bringing them up to a total of 4% when combined. So, basically what you had was, you had a group of about half of our teachers got an increase between 10% and 4% last year. And then on top of that, you've got, a group that had slightly under 4% down to 2%. So you had a 2% to 3.9% window. So the idea is that we would like to, anyone who did not yield 4% between the two TSIA allocations that they provided us, we would like to take them up to an additional 2% to get them to 4% whole for everybody when all said and done. And I know that's pretty confusing. And I can't tell you that it's precisely, I precisely have expressed that in language here, so I might need a little help with that. But that's the general consensus of what we we would like to do. But what that would require, and as Kathy knows, is a really, really quick turnaround on a ratification that might cause some perception issues from you guys' group. So it comes from good intentions from the district and the board, because half of the teachers at the bottom got the lion's share of a lot of money last year, and we're aware of that. So we'd like to try and direct as much in the other direction, not that it's fair, but as fair as possible, to the top of the scale, being that it's a percentage increase. Obviously the people with the larger salaries, when you apply a percentage increase, it's a larger increase for them as an individual. So that's the money aspect of it. And then there's the language that you guys have all seen before. I won't belabor us and drag us through that, but it's the bits and pieces of the different language. We can go through it after a while if you'd like, but I don't want to get lost in those discussions again. But it's the same few pieces of language that stood with a little bit of benefit to you guys that might help, get you over the line if it was to go through. And the idea is that if we put this through, we will be able to settle our 2021 contract and then start moving forward. And we have to talk about what that looks like after that, moving forward.
Chad, I have a question about that. Does this also include your non-classroom instructional? In other words, your media specialists, your ILS people, are they also going to be put into this, get this increase?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're unmuted.
Chad, may I ask, do you have, I guess I'm going to call it a guesstimate, how many teachers this 4% issue would affect?
Yes.
I mean, I know you can't be precise, but
Honestly, it's just about split down the middle. You out of 3,000 teachers.
okay, give or take 1,500 then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but
You've got,
okay.
let me give you some numbers here. Okay, so when we move to 44,750, the current minimum, 1,821 teachers moved to that amount.
Okay.
And then of those, you had about 1,544 that received more than a 4% increase. And that number is probably, that number, it fluctuates a little bit. If you were to apply the current amount that they've been allocated to us, like I'm describing in the plan here, fluctuates by 20, 40 people. So then what you're left with is approximately 1,505 people receive less than 4%. If you combine the two TSIA allocations that they've given us. And our goal is to help those people that receive less than 4% get to that 4% mark.
Because the 4% was the lowest that anybody had received out of the, well, minus the 2%, but
yeah,
the 4% was the lowest that out of the TSA money that someone received, except, I mean, we knew the 2%, but
yeah, basically what we're trying to do is the same thing we did last year when we bumped everybody to, so everybody got 2%. Now we'd like to bump everybody to make sure everybody got 4%.
okay.
He just confused me again.
It's definitely a lot to wrap your mind around.
That I understand. I'm okay with that one. Okay. This would definitely take some planning and some time to do, since this is like 3 weeks from now. So this is definitely not an easy task. Now, okay, question. Let's say we do this. We can't wait till the end of the month to do this also, because this would also have to be agreed upon at a school board meeting or not.
We would need, let me take a look.
So when's the next school board meeting? Because there's a deadline.
So basically, we would need to, it would need to be ratified on you guys' part by June 28th. That's our next school board meeting. And then we could board approve on June 28th.
We would really need to be done on the 27th.
Which is Sunday.
Yeah.
So,
So 25th.
so
I guess,
basically,
is
the week of
Friday.
the 21st is when it would have to be. Whoa. Okay, so, but you were,
You know that the school board could go ahead and ratify the agreement and with pending the ratification by the local, you know, basically pre-ratify that, you know, if the local ratifies that they consider it ratified too, that sometimes gets done in particular places. I really don't think there's any way we can pull all of this together any sooner than that last week.
Yeah. You know, I think because the 28th, I mean, your July 1 is on that Thursday. So I don't know whether it would benefit you guys or not. I think you're right that I've seen it done in both ways where board will ratify sometimes first and the union will first. It just depends. You know, based on when our meeting is, I don't know if it would benefit us to do it any earlier or not, because we're already in that last week with our meeting.
What time do you have your board meetings in the summer?
6 p.m.
So if we did this
that
in
Monday,
the morning,
on the
we could do it.
28th.
You could do it the 28th in the morning and then give them the press release at the board meeting. As long as he gets it on the agenda timely, that whatever the results are, he'll be ready to share.
Yeah, I could, if I had everybody aware that we were going to be, I could have the placeholder as an item, and probably with the language that, you know, we could share. I agree. We could probably pull that off if it was necessary.
As long as we had assistance from the school email and call out system, I would say, and however we can get this, because we would have to make sure that everybody had enough of the information.
Absolutely. We could give access through the school email. We could use the messenger system to do call outs. And we could also, I think we've got texting capabilities also through messenger. I'll have to check that and make sure.
Yeah, we have Hustle. We can use Hustle.
But you only have phone numbers for
But-
members.
yeah.
But as long as we cover all our bases and we can show every email that we sent out and every system that we used, we can sustain it if someone tries to challenge. I think if we have multiple ways of trying to reach people, I think it'll be okay. So them opening up the email system and the connected, the phone system, or whatever you call it, I think that will be very helpful. We would like to get a message out like in the next day or so to let people know, so once we're done here, the team needs to talk a little bit to see if we can come to an agreement to know if we need to move ahead, because then you guys could sign the TAs like on Monday and we could get the packet ready and then all the messaging and push it out. I'd like to have it in their hands at least 5 to 7 days before we,
Beforehand.
right. Plus we got to get all our volunteers signed up of who's going to go where. And Sounds like I should move to Lake County.
For the next couple weeks anyway,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, unfortunately.
It's a beautiful place.
So my only concern with the language, the way you shared it, Chad,
Yeah.
is the mixture of the 21, 22 in there. So I really think if we can just leave it to the current year, you're going to be better off, even because think about it this way. If you've got that language in there for 21, 22, I'm worried that DOE will key in on that part.
Yeah.
I'd like to have it just 2021, so it's very, very clear that we're not trying to bargain for 21, 22 in any way, shape, or form through this so that they don't gig us.
I got you. They
So you know, if you can send that to us electronically, we can talk about it. Maybe we can make some suggestions of how it would help us clear it up and also get it by DOE if they poke their nose under the tent, since they're fond of doing that lately.
Yeah, for sure. And that was our concern, is, you know, getting the gig later. But I definitely get what you're saying. The combination of the two could throw up some red flags. Mr. Ward, do you have any thoughts? Mr. Ward joined us here.
I can look at the financial impact. It will have a financial impact because you've got some people that would hit the 4% because they're receiving that additional money. But I don't know how substantial that is, but give me some time. I'll look at the financial impact and see if it's something the district can absorb or not.
Okay. Well, I'll send this to you guys, and Kathy has got it's also got the language about some of the learning walks, the voluntary coverage of, and providing some flex time, release time, the SLP language that need to be incorporated, and then the joint leadership committee stuff. I won't go through all that again today because I think we've all heard that about 1,000 times now. But the people that haven't heard it on your end can take a look at it whenever I send it over. If that's all right with you. And once you guys feel like you,
Okay, I have a term of contract also that I can send to you.
okay,
I found it interesting. I went through your contract and you don't have any article that states the length of any contract.
you know, it's interesting. We've kind of always gone by the cover. You know, believe it or not.
Yeah,
and-
you really kind of need something with signatures of your school board chairperson and that kind of thing on it.
Well, we've got, hang on. I thought you just meant like the years of it. Hang on, let me see if I can get my. Just a
You
second.
want to forward the email or do you want me to do it?
Go ahead if you have it up. Or I can forward it to him, either way.
I just didn't want to do it without your permission. Oh, wait, maybe I didn't send it to you yet.
Chad, I don't mean to speak out of turn, but just looking at the preliminary numbers, I don't think the district will have a problem making up that difference.
Okay.
Making what?
I didn't hear.
I didn't hear that. Can you repeat that?
Sure. I just looking at the preliminary numbers, I think the district can make up the difference between using next year's and not using next year's. I think the district can make up the difference. So we can.
So that it would be okay. It only
We can
do
leave next year's part
21.
out of it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just don't want to raise flags for DOE anyway.
Okay, this is his duration of agreement.
Is this what you were looking for?
Article 26.
How come I couldn't find it?
That's a good question. This one, if you go to the bargaining updates page under board on the website, you can get to the agreement, I believe, and it's in the PDF there.
Oh, so it's not in the file that I have. So
It's
it's
not.
missing something.
So it's on the website, not actually in the contract?
I mean, the contract is what's posted on the website. So I don't know what you guys have or what document you're using.
24, 25. I do not have a section 26 in the electronic document that I have.
Yes.
Yeah, it's page
Yep,
77.
It's in here, but it's a bad scan. It's going to have to be retyped. So I will retype this. I honestly, I did a search through the entire contract and I could not find it.
Okay.
It's also not showing in the table of contents for some reason. So this is going to be for 2021.
In the table of contents on the one I've got, I'm not sure what version you guys got. It's listed in there before the instructional, before it's the last thing before the appendices start. So I'm sorry, I missed the last thing you guys said.
Yep, it's in there. It's in the table. He may not have
Yeah,
sent you
in the electronic thing that I was pulling up, it wasn't coming up. So I don't know. I think it's from a PDF that was cracked back into a Word document and something went awry.
I got you. So you guys have worked on a new duration of agreement that you're going to send me?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So that. And I sent you the ESSER information, and you were going to be sending us a copy of the insurance MOU. And we also have another one that we have to put in the ratification pile is the SI schools agreement.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can get everything done, we'll have a summer school MOU, the duration of agreement, a salary change, some language changes, SI schools, and insurance MOU that would all go out for ratification.
That sounds about right.
Sounds about right?
Yep. I want to double check, and I think we cleaned up most of our MOUs that there used to be some lingering ones, but I'll double check on that to make sure. They're not any of huge significance, I don't believe, but there might be some out there I need to look at. Because I think I'm looking at some old stuff here in this book. So I'll send anything I have along with that other information.
So we're gonna have a meeting. I guess, Kathy, do you want to send a Zoom meeting to everybody so that we can go through these documents tonight? That way, if we can let him know tomorrow what we could agree to, or if we had a question, because you guys are going to have to get everything else finalized by Monday and get things signed so that we can start putting things out for ratification and alerting people what's going on.
Okay. Well, do you guys, so you guys are ready to close today and you're going to meet on your own and just wait for our documents to head your way in a few minutes?
And we're putting in the chat a Zoom link. And they'll just have to get out of this one and they can enter that Zoom link.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and close us here, but leave the window open until I see all your people are gone. So I know that they were able to get your link out of the chat. And then once I see your folks are gone, then I'll go ahead and shut it down completely. So it's 4:35 p.m. on June 3rd, 2021. This concludes LCEA and Lake County Schools bargaining. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate everybody being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see everybody.